They play this game all the time. The many years that I was up there, I heard it constantly every time this came up. The debt limit, the debt limit. The government's going to close down, and occasionally they close down the Washington Monument. They play this up big time. But I really think it's just a distraction. I think the government, they threaten. They say, what's going to happen if we don't have it? We're going to default. And they're implying, they don't say it, but they're implying that people aren't going to get their Social Security checks. Nobody's paying. There will be no payment. And that is not going to happen. They're going to do it even if nobody even looked at the debt limit again, because they go over the debt limit all the time because they lie and cheat and steal. And what they do is, when they're in big trouble, we can't even audit the Federal Reserve, and they have control of trillions of dollars. So when you have a financial crisis, you can bail out banks around the world and different governments around the world and the corporations in the banking system. They're spending trillions and trillions of dollars, but it's all off budget. Nobody adds it up, and nobody knows exactly what it is. But the whole thing is they're defaulting all the time. That's what inflation is. That's why what they're doing, because the default is the devaluation and purchasing power of the dollar, and that is constant. And they've admitted this more so now in recent years than ever before, because about 5 years or so ago, maybe even longer, the policy was we need inflation. When they talk about inflation, they're not talking about, money supply. They're talking about prices going up. What we need for a healthy economy is that we need to, have prices going up at 2% a year. Oh, that's not so bad. They're only going to steal 2% of your purchasing power every year. As they print money and inflate the currencies, prices go up. And it's hard to predict who's going to be punished the most and all, but that's what goes on constantly. And it will vary because of the subjective theory of value. Some things are going to go up faster than others, but eventually it gets out of hand. And I would say that's where we are right now. Prices are going up. So all those people that you've heard in Washington begging and pleading, if we only had 2%, the economy is going to be booming. Well, right now, so-called economy is still booming, and they're well over 2%. They claim 5 or 6%. I say it's a lot higher than that. So the depreciation of the money, the devaluation, the reduction of real debt is ongoing, and it's not going to stop.
Instead of temporarily resolving the debt crisis by raising the borrowing limit, Congress should authorize the U.S. Treasury to issue new debt to pay for authorized spending. What do you think of that?
It sounds like modern monetary theory. Why should they be issuing new debt? That's all they do is issue debt constantly. And that might temporarily pay some bills and all, but it would also be rocking the boat. I think people aren't used to having done like that, because that same thought was carried through. Oh, well, we can handle all that debt, but all we have to do is mint one coin, $1 trillion platinum coin. And we'll pay our bills and we'll put that money in the bank and there'll be no debt. So it gets pretty silly. At least that one was so extreme that even Yellen said, well, maybe that's not such a good idea.
Right.
But in a way, that's what they're doing all the time. It's just that they cover it over and pretend that they're not destroying the money as rapidly as they really are.
Jerome Powell has come out saying, okay, this inflation no longer transitory. Did they know all along it wasn't going to be transitory, Dr. Paul?
Absolutely. They're not real smart in understanding Austrian economics, but they know what's going on. And the whole thing is when I bring these subjects up, no matter which Federal Reserve Board chairman would be, they never really argued with me, and they never wanted a real debate. They said, Dr. Paul, I think you're right about that. This is going to happen, and prices could go up and all this. But now they can use the word transitory, but what the word they always used was, we need to do it orderly. So if interest rates are going to rise, a couple of years ago, interest rates popped up to like 1.85 10-year, and that wasn't orderly at that time. Now it's orderly to allow it to go up. So as long as the markets can be reassured of what's happening and they can anticipate it. You're going to see all these things happen, but the word is orderly, which means they want to contain the panic. And this is why they have to be very, very, I think the ultimate test in prevention of the total panic will be sharply rising gold prices. So they'll do everything under the sun to send a message out there. This is pretty orderly, nobody cares about the ultimate protection. If there was a real problem, gold prices would be going up and this sort of thing. So they want it orderly, but eventually, just like transitory price inflation, well, that's not so orderly any right now, because that is playing havoc with the economy, and it's also playing havoc with our social order too, because some people suffer a lot more than others.
So do you think there's a concentrated effort right now that's suppressing the gold price? Because I've been covering this market for so long, and I'm scratching my head thinking this is a perfect economic storm for gold, yet we're not over 2,000 an ounce.
Yeah, and that argument goes back and forth. And some people who are really in a camp where I am, they say, Ron, you're overreacting. They don't sit there. They're not sitting at a table and deciding what a price is every morning like FDR did. So no, they're very interested in people. You say, well, do you know who's doing it? Does the SEC do this? Treasury do it? Who buys and sells and this sort of thing? No, I don't know exactly, but I know one thing very confidently, that they have a tremendous benefit in making sure that gold doesn't go up $300 tomorrow. I'll tell you, let's say for some reason, the confidence in the system fell apart and gold went up $300 or $400. That would be a big deal. No, the reason is just think of what tells me that they have a great understanding of this. Just think how long they kept gold at $35 an ounce. It wasn't rigging the value of the dollar as much as rigging the ratio, the dollar price of gold. And from 1933 up to 1971, the market finally overruled in 1971, and then finally you saw the market. So as frustrating as it may seem, because you and I might sit down and we might look at the monetary numbers and say, gold should be $3,000 an ounce. We can make that calculation, but that's irrelevant. Ultimately, the market plays a big role in this, but they usually lose control. And they're talking about transitory, and I think they've lost control of that already, because 2% is all they wanted. And now they're admitting 6%, and next year they'll have to admit there's 8% or something like that. But it serves their benefit, and they have done it for years. And under the when it was very necessary to really secure our empire and get the security of the reserve currency of the world from 33 up to Bretton Woods breaking down, that is exactly what they did, and they got away with it. But they were rigging the price, and finally the market says you can't rig it anymore. And this is when I got interested in economics in the 60s, because there were people writing, it ain't going to last, it's not going to last, it's going to break down, and you're going to see gold explode. And subjective theory of value helps to understand a lot of this, because you can't look at a number and translate it into such and such happen, because there's a lot of subjectivity involved, but there are also economic laws that they cannot repeal.
There's a concern that if gold were to shoot up $300, $400, $500 an ounce, that it would completely shake the faith in the system, that people would be rattled and think, okay, there's something really wrong here.
Yeah, right. No, that would be the evidence, and that would be nobody should want that, because we see an undermining of our liberties right now, with the type of system that we have. And when we look at our civil liberties, they would be devastating to our freedoms. But it does happen. Mises wrote about the crack up boom. I believe it can happen, but it's sort of the end stages when everybody's just getting rid of dollars and getting rid of this stuff. Instead, you could triple the money supply by just people exchanging the money a little more rapidly, and I want stuff. Right now, they've already started and the stores are empty,
Right.
So we're in big trouble already, and they do not have control. Eventually, just like they lost control in 1971, they'll lose control of what's going on right now. Well, the interest rates going up. Just remember a couple of years ago when they went up a teeny bit, the markets didn't like it. So if they do it deliberately, and they might have to, they're probably allowing certain things to happen as long as it's orderly. We don't want it to go too fast. But if it got out of control, yes, I mean all the prices are going to skyrocket, and there's going to be the continuation of the abuse of our civil liberties, not only with monetary authorities. Everybody's checking account. If you have $600, you're going to be checked on and monitored. So that will come, because you say, well, maybe they're not going to continue spending. No, the damage has already been done. The welfare state has been institutionalized. The warfare state has been institutionalized. We do have an empire which we can't afford. And right now, we're in the doldrums when it comes to our authority around the world. Even if you wanted to, grow up and act like a better community leader, the credibility is being lost. And this is a characteristic of when the credibility of the money is lost, but there's still people who are crossing their fingers and hoping that they can do it. Gold prices aren't too bad yet. We're still okay. So we have to spend more money. And just think in the last couple of years, Republicans and Democrats, we're both spending money. This is not a democratic problem that we're facing. I mean, when COVID hit, the Republicans were in charge and the spending skyrocketed. And right now, if they start cutting back and saying, well, we have to do what Volcker did, let's follow the Volcker plan. I don't think they can do that. I think, unfortunately, they're going to have to keep printing, but that doesn't mean that it's going to last. It means that the market will decide the real interest rate.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members, where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active, and see you on the other side.